Hello my friends, so the worst thing which could happen to Russians in Crimea happened. Three of the main connections were cut by Ukraine. Not just the Chongar Bridge, not just the Henichins that was hit yesterday, but also Armansky Road. Ukraine hit all of the three lines. We have the info about it from our OSINTs. According to information circulating online, a bridge in Armansk at the northern entrance to Crimea was struck. The Armansk bridge, which crosses the North Crimean Canal, reportedly sustained damage, while several trucks caught fire following the attack. The canal has remained largely dry since the destruction of the Kakhovka Dam. The crossing is located on the key routes linking Crimea with occupied Kherson Oblast. And definitely in Armansk the road crosses canal. This could be the variant for Ukraine to hit it. So let's go to the northern part of Crimea, let's zoom into Armansk, and this is the bridge itself, going from Armansk, two of the roads actually. So allegedly, according to the channels, also Russian ones, Ukraine launched a strike on this one and the connection has been paralyzed. But even with this bridge hit, there is one more road that is going from Armansk to the east and it crosses canal in other place. Well, actually goes in parallel with canal until the point of Tavrisk, but Tavrisk, you see, it's very close to Ukrainian positions, just across the Dnieper River. So for Russians, it's no go to send the trucks there. Yeah, the Chongar Bridge was hit before, and by the way, Russians put the Panton Bridge there already because the main road is unserviceable. Here we have a pretty much detailed satellite image of the Chongar Bridge. Well, it was significantly damaged. It's still like not destroyed completely, but Russians put the Panton Bridge, which could be hit also. What is interesting that with the Ukrainian FP1, FP2 drone strikes, Ukrainian drone operators may decide on the place. What is it better to hit? It's not like with Kherson-Antonovsky Bridge that was devastated by HIMARS and later on was finished by the Russian Federation itself. Here Ukrainian drones could be even more devastating because they also carry significant payload, especially FP2 drones, and they might be used against the most vulnerable spots of the bridge. So as you see, Russians are already panicking with those Panton bridges, but the bridge like that is not enough for the big fuel truck, which means that the fuel crisis in Crimea continues and it will worsen, it will intensify. And actually it's bad that civilians in Crimea, they're suffering because of the fuel shortage, of course. Those Ukrainians who still live in Crimea, Crimean Tatars, I don't care about Russians who move to live in Crimea or those Russians who go there for the tourist season. It's their choice after all, and it's the war. So Ukraine cuts supplies first of all for the Russian army. And civilians, yeah, they live in Crimea and they also suffer because of that. But that's the only variant for Ukraine to stop the Russian aggression in Zaporizhia region, Kherson, so Ukraine has to cut those supplies. And for people who live in Crimea under occupation, I recommend to leave the peninsula. It should have been a long time ago, I mean, this decision to leave Crimea, because it is not safe, especially near military bases, infrastructural facilities. But I understand that for many people, they cannot leave their homes. It applies the same for people in Ukraine. You know, they live at the front lines for a very long time and they have basically nowhere to go. They grown up there, it's their property, it's their life. So yeah, the Chongar Bridge is heavily damaged. It was open for some time. Later on, Ukraine hit it once again and now it's closed. And also Ukraine hit Henichins. There are a couple of the bridges, one is here, and a little bit to the north there is one more bridge, so actually there are vulnerable spots in all of those connections. The strike on those bridges was already confirmed by the local occupation administration of Kherson Oblast, which means that the only connection for Crimea, let's go to this map, is the Kerch Bridge itself. Yeah, the only one and the most robust, I would say. Russia still hesitates to send trucks and trains with the fuel. They're afraid that Ukraine may hit those trains and trucks, causing significant damage to the Kerch Bridge itself. Well, they send army forces there. Some of the supplies accept fuel, but if it goes as it goes, Crimea would stay without any sort of the fuel in a close perspective. And for locals, that's the huge problem. They're already frustrated and they're telling openly like, what the hell is happening? Why under Russian Federation we have to live this miserable life with a fuel shortage or basically absence of the fuel. Like the variant for Russia, I think they will do it. They will send small vehicles full of fuel, like civilian cars across the Kerch Bridge, so for Ukraine it would not be possible to kaboom some of the big train full of fuel or number of the trucks. And also I guess there is one ferry left across the Kerch Channel. I remember how I saw the video with a great number of the trucks in a queue from Taman and they wanted to cross to Kerch. Well, yeah, that's also one more vulnerable spot for Russia. My friends, just a short regular reminder, please press like to this video right now and also subscribe for the channel. If you can, of course, you may support my job on Patreon, the link for it is in the video description right below, or on membership of YouTube channel by pressing button join. Guys, you are fantastic, thank you so much for making this content possible, and let's continue with the video. About the fuel in Sevastopol, Russian-approved Sevastopol governor says that no new fuel QR codes will be used today. According to him, fuel tankers were unable to reach the city, preventing the delivery of additional gasoline supplies. He did not specify what exactly prevented the tankers from arriving, but I think those were Ukrainian strikes on those northern connections, Armyansk, Chongar and Perikopsk. Before, those fuel vouchers were given to people, so they may refuel their cars with their own money, but with the limits. But now the vouchers are being cancelled, the QR codes are introduced. And here I am on the Russian channels, they say that Ukraine definitely hit Genechynsk bridge, the connection is no-go, the movement of the vehicles has been reversed. That's what they publish. In the occupied Mariupol, the situation is worsening for Russians. Ukraine dismantles not just logistics, but also the port infrastructure. So Russia cannot deliver supplies to the port using ships, because the port infrastructure is basically gone. We have this video published by the 1st Azov Corps. They return back to Mariupol for now just with the drones, but in the future I think they will return completely. So they hit the control tower, they hit substations, those tugboats, cranes and entire infrastructure, including tankers, I guess. Yes, so Russians are unable to operate there. It's not the tanker, it's the cargo ship, I'm sorry. The infrastructure is gone there, no electricity, nothing to operate, and they fly freely, you see. Is this a surveillance drone? I think the drone with the pointed down camera. And something else, yeah, one more boat, tugboat, and the oil infrastructure too. Some of the reservoirs, maybe for the grains, yeah, because Russia is using Mariupol not just to provide supplies for its army, for logistics, but also to steal Ukrainian grains from the occupied territory. And Ukraine operates further away from the port itself, hitting some of the Russian positions and substations. So Mariupol port is absolutely no-go, as well as the other Russian infrastructure in this city. The operation was done in collaboration between the 1st Azov Corps and Ukrainian SBU forces, and it is damn effective, very effective. You see that with the help of the drones, Ukraine manages to perform the tasks which were unimaginable even 1 year ago. Cutting Russian supplies, demolishing Russian ports, just like that with a few of the strikes. This is the new age of how the war is being conducted. And of course, those Russians who are lucky to have their supply trucks coming to them, they become unlucky. This guy looks like a civilian driver, yeah? An enhanced image by AI, of course, but we don't know how they look definitely. And this is the result. Ukrainian drone strikes are happening elsewhere. Russian tanks are being hit on the front lines, behind the front lines, Russian supply vehicles. And this is the usual picture for Russians every day, not just every day, every hour. And there is the new drone compilation from our K2 drone unit. They're very effective, especially in Donetsk region they operate. They hit lots of the supplies, and I see that most of the strikes are done in auto mode, and the drones, they are very precise. I believe that this aiming is the combination between AI and machine vision. So machine vision basically tracks the drone to the object, and the object is being defined with the help of AI. AI has the database, it analyzes the images to define whether it's the civilian target or the military one. Some of the Russian supply truck, BMP, tank, air defense, whatever, but still it leaves the opportunity for Ukrainian drone operator to choose the target and also the mode how to fly the drone, whether it's manual or auto. But I see that mostly it's auto, which means that the operator sees the target, defines it, and presses the single button, and the drone flies to hit it. It was Also unimaginable before, but here we have this technology, and I'm very happy that it's been introduced at first to Ukrainian army. So yeah, lots of the supply. Oh, this is an old vehicle. I think it's gas. I don't remember actually the number, gas something. Some of the photos, some of the, well, okay, so drone decided to go for the guy. Okay, maybe next time for the vehicle. Oh, this is kind of rare. Oh, this is a Ural truck. This is Ural. And also one more. This is Tiger. This is the very rare Russian MRAP. They are not producing many of them. Mostly they're using standard Kamaz, Urals, Bukhanka vans. So Tigers, they're very rare guests on Ukrainian front lines. For example, this is Bukhanka, very frequently used. And of course, lots of the other stuff. Sometimes using those images, Ukrainian drone operators may define particular soldiers of the Russian army. For example, not long time ago, one of the hero of Russia who was presented in media was caputed. Yeah, this guy who received a personal reward from Putin, Naran Ochir-Goryaev. Some of the Russian national minority who live usually thousands of kilometers away from Ukraine, nevertheless, they're being dragged to the war. Well, this one is a butcher. Yeah, he called Ukraine Nazis, and he accused Ukraine of everything, including this war, starting this war. Well, he was a legitimate target for Ukraine, and Ukraine was successful, and we have the real image. This is the vehicle. It was quite far away from the front lines, and nevertheless, he was inside, and he was cancelled, zeroed, flatlined. Moleculed, atomized, you may put your own word here, so K2 guys also did this stuff. The information about his movement was confirmed by Ukrainian intelligence, and Ukrainian drone operators already knew the type of the target, kind of the media target. Also, he've done lots of the war crimes. Later on, Russian publics, Russian channels confirmed the loss. Nice job, Ukrainian drone operators. And about Ukrainian long-range strikes, this is Veneer Progress, the facility that was absolutely demolished by Ukrainian Flamingo missile. The Flamingo missile itself was spotted and filmed, and Veneer Progress is very sensitive for Russia since it was producing some of the military spare parts, drone components and components for aviation gliding bombs. Chips, electronics, everything of that was ruined with a single Flamingo missile. So FP5 Flamingo is very powerful, but it has its own vulnerability. It is simply huge and well visible for the Russian raiders, so it's kind of the rare thing that this missile hits something. So it's not pink, sadly, but it's Flamingo. And this is Veneer Progress on fire, yesterday morning. Also, this refinery was hit not by Flamingo but by the drones. It's Kuybyshev refinery. It is located in Samara region and it is still on fire. And here is the confirmation that FP5 is after all kind of the vulnerable missile. Here it was intercepted by the Russian air defense. This is 100% Flamingo. It is not a small drone, it was a big kaboom in the sky, so I guess it was Flamingo. And analysts like, for example, Supernova Plus, they confirmed that it was Flamingo missile. This shutdown happened in Krasnodarsky Krai, so bordering Ukraine, and Zelensky himself, by the way, said that the effectiveness of Flamingo is 20%. Well, 20% is okay, because the price to produce FP5 is way lower than for any other cruise missile. And here's the moment of interception itself. So it flies and intercepts the Flamingo missile, I guess. It's not the average drone, no, it's too big. This is how the usual interception looks like, so Panzer S1 flies and a small dot, yeah, small point, so that firework thing was, of course, Flamingo. But this is also in the same Krasnodarsky Krai, something kaboomed right into the residential buildings, I guess. Well, Russia is using their air defense as usual, shutting down the drones elsewhere. So of course it's better not to use the air defense over the residential areas. And in Zaporizhia, I was also frustrated recently because there was the image of the Shahid Russian drone that was definitely shut down and it went to the populated area, unaliving lots of the locals. So the local air defense authorities, they messed up with that one. The air defense was working all the night in Krasnodarsky Krai. Ракета. Наша? Да. I hate Russian accent. Yeah, I also speak Russian, but without this Russian accent with letter A's. Moskovsky accent. Oh, shit. I just hate it. But after all, the attack on Kuban was successful. The Efimsky oil refinery was hit. At least a single strike was recorded with the ground kaboom and the ground fire, which makes it the third refinery in a row Ukraine hits for the last 3 days. And this is the most recent update from the last night. In Sevastopol there was the kaboom. So far there is no information of what was hit there, but the fire continues within the city itself. On territory of the city there are lots of the Russian headquarters of the Russian Navy. The Russian Navy is being blocked in Crimea, as we know. Alright, this is the detailed satellite image of the Russian Boeing ship that was hit in St. Petersburg during the Economic Forum, and the ship is gone. You see, the fire completely destroyed it from inside. The shell, the hollow part, is visible, but analysts already confirmed that nothing inside is left. Just a gun deck is alright, but the ship itself is no-go, like it's destroyed. It's in a dock, yes, it was there for repairs, but to repair the ship after all, it's better to build a new one. So, fantastic operation done by Ukrainian drones in the close proximity, right at the front lines, middle strikes and long-range strikes. Ukraine is very, very successful. Alright guys, it was a brief update. Stand by for the more videos published today. I'm gonna review more information coming. And please support my job on Patreon. The link for it is in the video description right below. Also, you may join membership of YouTube channel by pressing button join. Thank you so much for your kind support. Without your help, my job wouldn't be possible. And please press your like to this video and subscribe for the channel. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.